Well, thank you for staying with us. We are tracking the biggest news stories in the world of business. Let's get started with the aviation space. As global airlines regulator, that's the International Air Transport Association, has criticized the Nigerian government for holding over $464 million belonging to the foreign carriers. The global body says the unfair practice by the federal government has prompted Emirates Airlines to stop flying into Nigeria effective from September 1, 2022. This was revealed in a statement signed by the IATA's Regional Vice President for Africa and Middle East, Mr. Kamil Alawad Hilt. The carrier cited ongoing difficulties in repatriating trapped funds by the Central Bank of Nigeria. And Nigeria's digital currency, the eNaira, has seen transactions valued at 4 billion naira since its launch by the Central Bank of Nigeria. That's the CBN last year. The platform has also has to see 850,000 downloads with 270,000 active wallets. TVC's Lara Folayo has more of this report.
The launch of the eNaira in Nigeria was a strategic effort aimed at complementing the various diversification and digitization initiatives of government. Since its introduction last year, the volume of transactions seen by the digital platform has exceeded 200,000 with a value of 4 billion naira. The eNaira has also seen 840,000 downloads with 270,000 active wallets. This comprises of over 252,000 consumer wallets and 17,000 merchant wallets.
The launch of eNaira was timely and strategic in complementing the various diversification and digitization initiatives of the federal government, including the launch of the Nigeria Digital Economy Policy and Strategy.
The second phase of the project has now resumed with a target of driving financial inclusion by getting the country's unbanked and underserved users to leverage offline channels. The focus at this stage is to absorb 8 million active users into the eNaira digital space, and the Apex Bank says this is based on estimations using the diffusion of innovation model.
The eNaira platform possesses an innovation layer for products and services to be built with the aim of enhancing Nigeria's participation in the digital economy and promoting further development of a burgeoning fintech ecosystem.
To further promote the adoption of the eNaira in the country, the CBN partnered the fintech industry to help bring about innovative products that would support the digital currency. 10 of the 5,000 applications received from the public on driving the eNaira's use through various innovations have now been shortlisted.
With this, we think there's going to be a lot more new ideas that will create jobs, that will create employment, and bring in values into our financial services. From over 5,000 applications, this number has been trimmed down to 20.
The Central Bank says the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System NIBS platform can now be used to make transfers of the eNaira across banks. The Apex Bank hopes to use the digital currency platform as a means of charting the future of the Nigerian currency while deepening the payment system. Lara Folayo, TVC News, Abuja.
And in other stories now, Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, says the federal government has now proposed a new date to end payments on under recovery between the landing cost and regulated pump price of PMS. Now, speaking at a meeting with members of the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Oil and Gas, the minister noted that the subsidy regime is no longer sustainable and might force the government to borrow more in 2023. According to the finance minister, the government is only planning for payments of subsidy for only half of next year, as contained in the 2023-2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, adding that withdrawals from the Consolidated Revenue Fund and the excess crude account was for payments to oil marketers under the subsidy regime. On the international scene, Asian shares were left in limbo today, while the US dollar made all the running as recession clouds gathered over Europe and highlighted the relative outperformance of the U.S. economy. In MSCI's broadcast index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan is 0.3%, to be down 1.1% on the week. Now, Chinese blue chips were flat, while South Korea lost 0.5%. Japan's Nikkei fared better, with a 0.3% gain due in part to a renewed slide. The S&P 500 futures is 0.1%, and were little changed on the week, having repeatedly failed to clear the 200-day moving average, while Nasdaq futures slipped 0.2%. Euro Stocks 50 futures dipped 0.1%, while FTSE futures edged up to 0.2%. Well, let's stay in Asia for a moment, as China is widely expected to lower its benchmark lending rate on Monday, the 22nd August 2022, with a vast majority of participants predicting a deeper cut to the mortgage reference to lift the ailing property sector and the overall economy. The notable dovish tilt in PBOC's monetary policy stance came after a slew of key gauges, including credit lending data and activity indicators, show the economy unexpectedly slowed in July. According to reports, the loan prime rate, which banks normally charge their best clients, is set by 18 designated commercial banks who submit proposed rates to the People's Bank of China. Meanwhile, the market's consensus of LPR cuts this month comes as the bank earlier this week unexpectedly lowered two key interest rates for the second time this year to try to revive credit demand in the COVID-19 hit economy. Still on the international scene, Taiwan's export orders likely grew for a third consecutive month in July, but less than half the pace of the previous month as global demand cools. That's according to the latest foreign trade reports from Taiwan Statistics Office. Now, according to the report, the island's export orders, a bellwether of global technology demand, unexpectedly fell for the first time in 2 years in April, as orders shrank 5.5% from a year earlier to $51.9 billion, taking a larger than expected hit from COVID-19 lockdowns in China and broader global supply chain disruptions. The report also shows that trade exports returned to growth in May and June, as others went up 9.5% from a year earlier to $58.83 billion. The government has predicted July orders to be between 0.4% and 3.1% higher than the year before. Meanwhile, oil prices on the international market slipped today after 2 days' gains as market participants weighed worries about a global economic slowdown, which would dampen fuel demand against expectations of tighter supplies towards the year end. Now, U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude recorded a price dip of 0.77% to hit $89.80 per barrel. Now, Brent crude now sells at $95.91 per barrel, registering a downward price margin of 0.70%. Now, Bonny Light's trading value is still static at $118.10 per barrel, recording a price drop of 3.25%. For the OPEC basket, now crude oil dealers offer $95.73 per barrel with a price decline of 1.75%.